Before we get to our speaker, I wanted to lead us in a prayer. So let us pray. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Good and gracious, loving God, we praise you. We thank you as we continue this journey in celebration of the resurrection of your Son, Jesus Christ, this Easter mystery. We praise you for that opportunity for new life in Christ. We praise you that you have made us for relationship with one another, and ultimately relationship with you. We pray that your Spirit might be upon us tonight, that you would open our minds and our hearts to your will for our lives, and specifically for your will for our relationships. We pray in a special way for your Spirit to be upon Meg tonight, that her words might be yours, and through her you may touch the hearts of all of us gathered here. Pray that you continue to lead us and that we would be open to you as your disciples each and every day. We ask this in all things in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. So Meg Hunter-Kilmer is a graduate. I know so much about her. We actually go way back to last week sometime. And she graduated from Notre Dame actually in 04 and 06. And so recently is making the rounds speaking to young people of all ages. She's actually been in our diocese for the last week, over a week probably, visiting some of the schools and such, and comes highly recommended, sent from some friends in Salina, some families in Salina, so I'm excited to give her the opportunity to say a few words tonight. So I'll allow her to say a little bit more about herself if she so desires, because obviously I don't know that much. But she said feel free to make stuff up, and I'm usually pretty good at that, especially like in my homilies, just making stuff up, but I don't feel comfortable doing that as much about her. Which sounds horrible. I'm okay making stuff up about Jesus, but when it comes to some... so anyway, I did want to give a warm welcome to Meg Hunter-Kilmer.
Thanks, Father. Here's how well Father Jared and I know each other. Just a few minutes ago, he said, I don't know very much about you except that you're a graduate of BC. I was like, yeah, nope, we don't know that either. Because I'm not. But, that's cool. You can say that if you want to. Whatever. So I grew up in Washington, D.C. Is anyone from D.C.? Yeah, where?
Virginia and Manassas.
Okay, I grew up in Vienna. Who's been to D.C.? And you took the metro to the Smithsonian. You took the Orange Line to Vienna. That's my hometown. So I'm a city girl. And I have spent the past couple of weeks in rural Kansas, which has been very exciting for me. The most exciting part was probably yesterday when I was following Google Maps. That's a bad idea. And I was driving down this road, and it was gravel for like a really long time. And I was like, who drives on gravel roads? But I guess this is what you got to do. And I turn this other road that's gravel, and then I cross the road and it gets worse. But I'm doing okay. I'm skidding a little bit, because it was kind of wet all day yesterday. But that's fine. And then I'm crossing the road, and I'm like, man, does it get even worse? And I start driving on this dirt road. Well, you know what happens to a dirt road when it rains all day? It turns into mud. And I drive a Mazda 3. So that was a very exciting time for me. I made it like 100 feet, and I was like, why am I not going anywhere? What's happening? And I realized that I was stuck in mud. And so then I popped into reverse, but I couldn't turn around because I had ditches on both sides of the road, and I was like, I'll die if I try to turn the car around, because I had no control. But I can't back straight up because I destroyed the road behind me as I was going down. So I'm swerving back and forth, trying to wiggle my way out of this road. My car still has fist-sized clumps of mud on roof. And so you think I'm exaggerating? I thought maybe the snow would wash that off, like on the roof of the car. There's mud. So I'm enjoying being in Kansas within reason. The snow today may be a little homicidal. That's okay, you know, like I may get over it eventually. I grew up in D.C. I went to Notre Dame, studied theology. I got 2 degrees in theology at Notre Dame, and after that, I became a high school religion teacher, middle school and high school religion teacher for 5 years. Well, at the end of last year, I felt like God was calling me to follow Him in a more literal way, so I quit my job, packed everything I owned into the trunk of my car, and I hit the road. And for the past 11 months, I have been homeless and unemployed for the sake of the kingdom. I have no home address. I have no steady income. I have no area where I keep all of my things. I'm a hobo, is what I'm telling you. I'm a hobo. I've been to 31 states in the past 11 months. I'm hoping to knock out another 10 by the end of the summer. The coolest place I've been so far is Hawaii, because Jesus really loves me. And I was like, Lord, I'm so generous. Check out how I'm giving you my life. And Jesus was like, you're generous. I'm going to send you to Hawaii for free in January. And I was like, oh, you're the generous one. Okay, sorry. But He made up for it, because I don't think I have made it above freezing for the past 3 months. Thank you, Kansas, for snow on April 23rd. But one of the things that I think is refreshing to me about being in Kansas is that being from the East Coast, and any of you who might be from the Northeast, you know that back east we're a little crazy, right? Like, we don't really have our heads on straight, and we tend to think some kind of ridiculous things. Like me, I grew up with the understanding that men and women are exactly the same. That there is one minor anatomical difference, okay, I guess we'll allow that. But other than that, men and women are just the same. See, my last name is hyphenated. Anybody hyphenated in here? Yeah, it's an East Coast thing. It's also a terrible thing to do to a child. Don't do that. It's just complicated. It's fine. My parents were wondering who it is, whatever. I have a hyphenated last name because my mother was a feminist and my father was a woman, right? I grew up, my dad stayed home with us, and my mom worked. When my dad did work, he was a nurse, so he's not exactly your stereotypical manly man. Right now, lest you think my father's a total pansy, he also trained Rottweilers and Dobermans and bench pressed 400 pounds. So, say that to his face. But I grew up with this idea that gender norms are just a total social construct. Right? That there isn't really any difference between men and women. I actually thought, until I was 12 years old, that women were physically as strong as men. My father bench pressed 400 pounds. Do you think my mother bench pressed 400 pounds? No, because 2 women ever have bench pressed 400 pounds, according to Wikipedia. So, pretty much up to the minute information right there. That's the Wikipedia, right? But I really thought that there was no difference. And you know what? I felt crazy. Because I was a 14-year-old girl, and I thought that I had to be just like men. And so when I was ridiculously emotional about things, I just thought that maybe I should be medicated, right? When in fact, I was just a teenage girl, and that's how girls are. Now you guys know that men and women are different, right? This is not news to you. There are a bunch of guys in the front room who are like, See, men and women, we don't speak the same language. Right now, guys, you think that you speak the same language, but we don't. Guys, you speak English, I assume, most of you, yeah. Ladies, you speak English exclamation point. I mean, there are facial expressions and tones of voice and body language, so you say one thing and you mean exactly the opposite, and every woman in the room understands that. Right? Now, you might walk up to me and be like, hey, how you doing? And I'm like, fine. Which every girl knows means, I'm having kind of a rough day and I'd really like to talk about it, but it's not super urgent, so please don't feel like you need to cancel your plans, but if you could get it together with me later and we could work through this, I'd really appreciate your time, because I'm okay right now, but I'm not sure I'm going home. Right? Yeah, and the guys are like, okay, you said fine. And I know what fine means. Fine means let's play Xbox. Right? And see, now I say this and guys are like, okay, note to self. Fine means something's wrong, but it doesn't necessarily. I mean, you might ask me how you're doing, and I'm like, fine. Which means I thought I was going to be having a bad day, but it turns out it's going pretty well. Thank you so much for asking. Nurture, yeah. What? Make babies and raise babies. I asked this question in high school, and this kid was like, cook and clean. Biologically, women are designed to raise nonverbal babies. So when we're back in the cave, right, you're sitting there like this cave woman with her cave baby, and the baby's like, ah! You have to look over at him and say, like, is he screaming because he's obnoxious? Or is he screaming because there's a scorpion crawling up, right? Like, that's an important thing to be able to determine. Whereas the guys, you were designed to hunt, right? So you're out there and you got your spears, you're with your buddy Ugg, right? And you see a saber-tooth tiger and he goes, run! And you're not like, well, I mean, is it a race? Are we going to frolic in the field? Are we just testing ourselves? Are we running? No, but run! Like the saber-tooth tiger is going to wipe your face off and run. Okay? This is not a complicated thing. And so women develop this ability to speak in a way without using words. Okay, now Angela and I go way back. Angela, raise your hand. There's Angela, awkward. If Angela walks in, I can look at her and I can go, and she can go, and I can go, and she can go, and she can go, and I can go, and she can go, and I go, and she goes. See, now what just happened, because Angela and I know each other real well, is I said, how are you? And she said, not so good. And I said, really? And she said, yeah. And I said, was it him? And she said, yes. And I said, do you want to go talk about this? And she said, no, not now. I said, are you sure? She said, yeah. Right? And ladies, you're like, yeah, no, okay. That makes sense. Like, guys, you're like, you did not say anything. Okay? I was listening and no words came out from your mouth. All right? So this is not real. What you are saying to me right here. Women, we tend to think that guys are going to understand us, right? And so what happens, guys, is that we lie all the time. We do. They're like, I'm writing it down. She said, a girl said, but we don't think that we're lying because we understand each other, right? And so, ladies, a guy asks you what's wrong, and you go, nothing. Which means if you have to ask, I'm not going to tell you. And that is mean, right? Mean. Use your words. Okay? Well, you say nothing, and he's like, sweet, let's play Xbox. And you're like, ah, you didn't even listen to me. He's like, that's exactly what I did, is I listened to you. Okay? Apparently I shouldn't listen. We tend to expect guys to understand what we're not saying. Yeah? And then when we think they're insensitive bores, when they don't understand the words we didn't say. And so part of being in relationship, and not even just in romantic relationships, but in friendships, ladies, is for you to use your words and to explain what's actually going on. Guys, this is really hard. We're not just playing games with you. It's really hard for women, because ladies, don't you feel needy if you express your needs verbally? You know, like, my friend asked how I'm doing, and I'm like, fine. And what I'm saying is, if it's good with you, I'd like to have this conversation. I'm not saying I desperately need you right now, which is an opening for rejection. But sometimes what you need to do with people who don't speak the same language as you is be explicit about what you need, right? Because there's another complicating factor. It's that guys and girls, we don't process emotions the same way. Have you guys heard about how guys have boxes? Girls have like a laundry hamper. Right? So guys, you have the ability to compartmentalize. So you've got your friend's box, and your school box, and your family box, and your Xbox box, and your Xbox box, and your other Xbox box. And your nothing box, where like sometimes you just think about nothing. I was talking to a group of high schoolers about this, and this kid leans over to his friend, and he was like, where were we supposed to get the boxes? Wow, okay. Because everyone picked up on the fact that I mean metaphorical boxes. These are not actual boxes that your mom buys you at Target. And so guys, what you're able to do is you're able to focus on the matter at hand in a way that is much more difficult for women. Ladies, we're more like a laundry hamper where everything's just kind of all mixed in together. Right? And so who plays football? Played football in high school. Alright, let's say 3 hours before kickoff you have a big fight with a girl. When the ball is snapped, what are you thinking about? Football. He's thinking about football, right? It's funny because sometimes I ask some younger guys and they're like trying really hard to please and they're like, the girl? And I'm like, but you're not, is the thing. And so maybe you have a really great game and you see this girl afterwards and you're like, hey, did you see that game? And she's like, I can't believe it. And you're like, yeah, we're mad. volleyball. Well, I asked a girl this question once. I said, what are you thinking during that volleyball? And she said, that ball is his face! Okay, somebody medicate that child. We don't have that same ability to separate the different things that are going on in our lives, right? Which is the reason, guys, that sometimes it seems like women totally overreact. Because ladies, sometimes we totally overreact. Is that fair? Ladies, raise your hand if you have ever freaked out when it was maybe unnecessary. Okay, put your hands down, guys. This is not permission when a girl starts crying for you to be like, remember that Jesus chick who said sometimes you're irrational? Because she'll hit you and you'll deserve it, okay? But what happens is, I mean, you lean over during class and you're like, hey, can I borrow a pencil? And she's like, fine. Take the pencil. Just take everything. Why don't you? And she starts crying. And you're like, oh, no, I'm sorry. Keep the pencil. I will bite my finger and write with my blood. Because this is what guys do when girls cry. Just freak the heck out. Because what she's thinking, you ask for the pencil, and she's thinking, yeah, take the pencil. Because I'm always giving, and nobody ever gives in return. Just like my best friend, who I called her 4 times in the past week, and she hasn't called me back. And that guy on Saturday night, who I haven't heard from him either, and it looks like nobody's going to love me, and I'm going to die alone. Which might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but ladies, when you were 15, yeah. No, it does get better, and I think most of y'all are probably on the upswing, where you're less erratically emotional guys. It does get better. Although I say that to adult men, and they're like, no, it doesn't. I don't know what I can do for you. The biggest difference, though, that I've seen between men and women, it was probably the first one I came to understand. I was 20 years old, and I was talking to this guy, and he was a good guy, a daily mass kind of a guy, a praying guy. And it was one of those late night conversations, and y'all are in college, you know, late night, like, things get kind of weird, you talk about weird things. And somebody asked this guy, what would you do if your sister were sexually assaulted? And he said, I'd kill him. And I was like, you wouldn't kill him? And he was like, no, I would kill him. And I was like, you're not going to kill him, that's wrong. And he said, I understand that it's wrong. I'm telling you, if somebody raped my little sister, I would go to my house, I would get a gun, I would hunt him down, and I would shoot him in the head. And I was like, this boy crazy. Remember, I come from Northern Virginia, we don't have guns. I'm not even kidding. I got in big trouble in Beloit for mentioning that I didn't know that shotguns shot. Yeah, I've been learning a lot about guns in Kansas, but I saw my first gun when I was 22, okay? So, which maybe is a little ironic, I guess. But I was just like, this boy is nuts. And so I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was like, can you believe this guy said this? He was like, yeah, that's what I would do. And I was like, whoa, okay. And I started to ask around. And I realized that almost every man I asked that if a woman that he loved were sexually assaulted, his first question is, where is he? And almost every woman I asked that her first question is, where is she? See, my automatic reaction is that I want to be with her. I want to hold her. I want to cry with her, right? Whereas most men I found, they wanted to go out and they wanted to fix it. They wanted to protect her. And it's interesting because I'll give this talk to mixed groups, and when I tell the story about the guy shooting the other guy in the head, guys are like, yeah. And girls are like, who does that? He just kills people. Like, no. And I realized that this question was revealing a universal instinct. That men, at their very nature, know that it's their job to protect the women around them. And you see this in little boys. My little brother was 2 years old. He was at a playground, and my sister came running over because a big boy hit her, you know, like a 5-year-old. Those 5-year-olds are scary, right? This big boy hit her, so she comes running over, and she tells my dad that this boy hit her, and my little brother hitches up his diaper, stalks across the playground and says, boy! To this boy who was twice his size, don't hit Yodi. My parents didn't name her Yodi, they're not crazy. He couldn't even say her name, he was that That little boy? That little boy yells at you? But my brother, he knew it was his job to protect his big sister. I have a nephew, he's 3 years old. He is the biggest nerd on the planet. Like seriously, the kid loves Roman numerals. He loves the code of canon law. Yeah, okay. He gets really excited about learning new Latin chants. Like biggest nerd on the planet. He doesn't do trucks, doesn't do balls, never seen him throw a punch. Well, he has 3 little sisters. Process that. He's 3 years old. He has 3 little sisters. Say a quick prayer for that mother. He has 3 little sisters. And when his mom was pregnant with the twins, I was talking to him and I said, John Paul, you're a big brother. And he said, yes. And I said, and you have 3 little sisters. And he said, yes. And I said, and if somebody tries to hurt your sisters, what are you going to do? And he said, kill. Whoa! Okay. Right instinct, maybe not so much on the execution. I'm too proud of that one. This little boy who doesn't have a violent bone in his body, he knew that it was his job to do whatever it took to protect his sisters. And gentlemen, I think that you have that same instinct. I think you have that same desire to protect. If you were walking home, and you're walking through a parking lot, and you see a girl that you've never met before being punched by some guy, what are you going to do? You take it down, right? You're going to go after it. What if he's bigger than you? Doesn't matter. Across this country, ladies, I have asked that question to young men. And every one of them says it doesn't matter. Some of them say, I'll size them up first and see if I need my baseball bat. Right? Or maybe, if I'm like a $110, he's an NFL linebacker, I'm going to call 911 first. Come put me back together afterwards. To a man, these guys are telling me that they will risk themselves bodily to protect women they've never met before. You don't have that same instinct if there are 2 guys, right? Maybe if there's a child or an old man. But if there's a bigger guy and a smaller guy and they're in a fight, maybe you're going to step in and do something. Maybe you're going to yell. But if it's a woman, even if she's like a kickboxer her own, there's an instinct in you to run, to get there to protect her, right? You have this desire to protect the women in your lives. Gentlemen, I need you to hear me on this. The women in your life are under assault. Day in and day out, from every angle, we are being attacked. From the moment we're little girls, we're told you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not smart enough, or you're too smart. You're not athletic enough, or you're too athletic, right? You're too skinny, your hair is too frizzy, your eyes are too big, nobody is ever gonna want you. Now guys, I think you hear some of the same thing, but the difference is that we believe it. Right, ladies? With everything we are, we believe it. We are told from childhood that we're never going to be good enough, we're never going to be pretty enough, that nobody is ever going to love us as we are. We have to change, right? We have to be different. We have to be smarter and faster and stronger and better. We have to be skinnier. We have to be prettier. Go to a grocery store and look at the cover of Cosmo. A woman's magazine, which tells you everything that is wrong with you and how to fix it, including in bed. 27 ways to keep your man. Because somehow the act of marital intimacy is now also something that we have to be successful at. And the end result is, I have asked hundreds of young women across this country, at some level, do you hate yourself? And one time, one girl said no. That's what the women in your life are dealing with, gentlemen. And we need you to fight for us. We need you to man up and to be willing to take a stand for us. Because it goes all the way back to the beginning of humanity. What was Adam's job in the garden? To protect Eve. He had one job, one woman, one enemy. Doesn't strike me as a terrible job. Adam's job was to protect Eve. And he needed to fight for her, right? But he stands there as Satan seduces his bride. Satan goes up to her and says, "You're not good enough. God didn't make you good enough. He's holding something back from you." She believed it, right? And ladies, ever since then, we've believed it. We have believed the lie that God is holding something back from us, that we're broken, that we're messed up, that God made a mistake when he made us. The God of the universe, who designed constellations, who created this planet, who had a trillion people that he could have chosen from and chose to make you, that God did not screw up. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he looks at you and he says, "She is very good." And he says in the Song of Songs, "You are all beautiful, my beloved, and there is no blemish in you." See, my God thinks you're incredible. Ladies, he thinks you're worth dying for. And Satan whispers in your ear, "No, you're not. You're not good enough." And Adam stands back and watches. Just waits to see what happens. And when Eve reaches for that fruit, he stands, the Hebrew says, at her elbow. And he waits. Because God told him, anyone who eats of the fruit will surely die. And so Adam says, "That's all right, baby. You take the first bite. Let me see what happens." That's the man right there. She takes a bite. She doesn't drop dead, so he figures, well, maybe this is a good thing. He takes a bite too, and they're like, we're naked, right, whatever. And God comes, and I love this line. God goes looking for her. I'm like, "Where are you?" And you're like, "Oh, you won't see us back here." And God says to Adam, "So you have eaten then of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil." And Adam says, "It was the woman." Just throw it right under the bus. "Whom you put here with me." And God's like, "Oh, so now it's my fault, man? I'll smush you in your fig leaves." Watch it. But God turns to Eve and he says to her, "Your longing will be for your husband, and he will rule over you." He tells her at the very beginning that the consequence of the fall for women is that our desperate desire is going to be for a man to look at us to see that we are beautiful. And if we don't feel like we're getting that, we'll do anything. And we need to get it from our fathers, right? Guys, if you ever have daughters, you tell that little girl every single day that you love her. You tell her every day that she's beautiful. I talk to guys and they're like, "Oh, well, in my family, we're not expected." I don't care about your family. You buy her princess dresses, you dance her around the living room, you take her on dates, you do whatever it takes. Because if you don't convince that little girl that she's worth something, she's going to spend the rest of her life trying to prove to herself that she is. Ladies, if you don't have a father who treated you like you were the center of his world, I am so sorry. Because you deserve better than that. But you need to know that you have a Father in heaven who thinks you are incredible, who thinks you are beautiful, who thinks the sun rises and sets on you. You have a Father in heaven who loved you so desperately he sent his son to die for you. A God who went to hell and back to tell you you are good, you are beautiful, you are precious in my sight, and I love you. But even if you hear it from your father, it's not necessarily going to be enough, is it? See, my dad loves me, all right? I got a good dad. It's almost creepy how much my father loves me. I'm pushing 30, he still writes me poetry. All right, when I walk in the room in his outfit, my dad goes, "Wow." Right? But, I mean, it has since I was a little girl. My dad thinks I'm the most amazing thing that ever happened. And I was 21 years old the first time I looked in the mirror and thought I was good. Because that's how deep the wound goes. And because none of the men in my life had the guts to fight for me. See, guys, and I know you are good guys because you showed up, right? And I know you are good guys. I'm sick of good guys. Because what this world tells me is a good guy is a guy who calls you after he sleeps with you. That's not you. I know that. I am done with good guys. I need heroes. Because we are being told constantly, not by you, but by everybody else, that we're not good enough. That the only reason that we exist in this world is to be the object of somebody's lust, to be somebody's plaything. Right? In the way that men talk to us, in the way they talk about us, in the way they look at us, and I need you guys to fight for us. Because your words are so powerful. I was 27 years old the first time a man other than my father told me I was beautiful. That's pathetic. What were the men in my life doing? What were the guys who took me to dances doing? Right? What was my best friend doing? Why did nobody have the guts to say that to me? And you know what? The first guy who said to me was a 19-year-old kid. I don't even remember his name. But I will remember that moment until the day that I die. Because a man looked at me and used the word beautiful. Ladies, that's how powerful your words are, guys. And we have a lot of good guys out there who aren't fighting. Consider the kind of conversations you overhear in your dorms. That's an attack. And we need you to fight for us. Right? In the way that you talk to us, in the way you talk about us, in the way that you look at us, the girls that you see on campus, and the women that you look at on the internet. Yeah, we're talking about pornography right now. It's everybody's favorite subject, right? Gentlemen, I understand that pornography is a temptation for every young man and probably old man as well. If you are fighting it, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you. You see, pornography is not just an attack on that woman who was probably forced into sex slavery and who was most likely dead by overdose, suicide, or abuse at this point. It's not just an attack on her. It's not just an attack on your virtue, right? It's an attack on every single woman that you ever encounter. And I know this is not an issue for anybody in this room because you guys are saints, and I appreciate that, but I'm just giving you some fodder for conversation with the other guys that you know, right? Pornography is as addictive as crack. See, Jesus girl didn't make that up. You can Google that one. It is as addictive as crack cocaine, and it is the #1 way to ruin your marriage. Because a lot of guys, when you're 12, 15 years old, you think, well, I'm not hurting anybody, right? This just keeps me from using actual women. And once I get married, well, then I'll stop. But it's an addiction. You're not going to just stop. And your wife is going to find out, and it will break her heart. And she will feel ugly and used. So this is an issue for you right now, gentlemen. You fight it right now. And you stop right now, and you get help if you have to get help, and you take it to the confessional. And ladies, you're not off the hook on this. Because there are women who have issues with pornography too. This is something that you have to fight. And you have to know how much this matters. Because these women in your life, guys, we need you. And I know I'm coming in here and I'm like, hey, be better and be stronger and fight harder. But girls, you're so pretty, right? And guys, I need you to make I need you to be better. Girls, you're so pretty. I understand. It sounds a little bit like a double standard, right? And sometimes young men get really angry at me because I'm accusing them of being rapists or something. I don't even know. I don't say those words, but you know. Here's the thing. I am telling these women they need to believe that they're beautiful. That is more difficult for them to do, gentlemen, than it would be for you to go an entire year without thinking about sex. I've read the studies. I mean it. I said that one time to a kid, and he goes, I could do that. And I was like, yeah? And he goes, yeah. I said, you're on. He said, okay. I said, you lose. He said, how'd you know? Well, you're a 15-year-old boy, and I ain't stupid. Also, I'm talking about it right now. That's how deep these wounds go. That, ladies, this is going to be something that you struggle for and that you fight for the Lord to say to you for the rest of your lives. To believe that you're good enough. Guys, the way that you work, you need that challenge, right? You need to know that there's something worth fighting for, and I'm telling you, these women are worth fighting for. Now, ladies, it's not all on them. It would help if we, wore clothes. Leggings are not pants, just FYI. See, I know that leggings aren't pants because when I tell teenage boys that leggings aren't pants, a few of them look really grateful, and then some of them look really angry. That's not a good sign, right? If teenage boys are really that invested in what you are or are not wearing one of these, maybe you want to question that a little bit. Sometimes I talk to girls and they're like, well, I should be able to wear whatever I want. Like, I should be able to walk right in with not wearing any clothes at all, and he should respect me so much that he's just looking at my face and treating me with dignity. Really? Which is wearing nothing at all. Really right now. Now, I understand, ladies, no man has the right to lust after you. No man has the right to use you for his sexual fantasies. I understand that, but there are guys in this world who are trying. Right, guys? Who are fighting to be honorable, godly men. I talked to a 19-year-old guy who asked me, how can I convince my girlfriends not to wear leggings as pants? He said, I tried, and they told me that I was a jerk. Okay, this is a guy who sat down with his friends and asked them to wear more modest clothes so that he could respect them more. Okay, these guys are out there, and I think these guys are probably in here who really want to look at you with honor and dignity. Help them out. I'm not going to take my alcoholic buddy to a bar and be like, it's not my fault he had 17 shots. Right? Like, go on a picnic, Chuck E. Cheese. There are all kinds of places you can go where there's no booze. We don't have to go around wearing burqas, right? We can dress like ladies. But ladies, we got to do something, right? We got to not manipulate. Maybe. Yeah, some of us maybe a little bit manipulative. Don't do that. Let them be men. Let them fight for you. We got to not analyze every single move every guy ever makes and then assume that they're in love with us and then get really angry at them when they're not in love with us when they actually never did anything at all to indicate that they were in love with us. Right? And guys, on the flip side, man up and use the word date. If you like a girl, none of this, would you want to hang out sometime, say, I think you're lovely and I would like to take you on a date. Remove all of the doubt from our minds. Now, I understand you're opening yourself up to rejection if you do that. But is your goal in life to get a lot of women? Or is your goal in life to protect the women around you? Because I will tell you, even if a girl turns you down, she feels more beautiful. She feels more loved, and she feels like she deserves to be honored because of the way that you chose to treat her. And you can mark that as a success. Now, guys, I know I'm coming in here and I'm asking you to be crucified. This isn't easy, right? To stand up against this culture, to stand up against your friends and your family, to stand up even against some of the women who insist that you treat them in ways that you know they deserve better than, because I know it is not just y'all, right? There's a whole lot of insecurity going on our side too. There's a whole lot of girls who are desperate for love. I know I am asking you to be crucified. But you told me 20 minutes ago you would take on a guy twice your size to protect him. I'm asking you to put your money where your mouth is. I'm asking you to be man enough to fight for us because we need you. We won't say it because our culture tells us that we can't. We have to be tough. We have to be strong. I am telling you right now on behalf of all women, we need you to be strong for us. Ladies, don't friend zone the guys who fight for you. Right? But guys, if you decide that you're sick of being a good guy, you're going to be a hero, so you will change this world. This world needs more heroes. It's guys filled with good guys. What questions do y'all have for me? You can ask, okay,
coming from like such a liberal background in the Northeast, like how did you I essentially come up with this point of view? I mean, I'm in vet school and have several friends from the Northeast and, definitely fit more along the line of a feminist perspective.
Yeah, I am a feminist. If by feminist you mean that men and women are equal. If by feminist you mean that men and women are the same, well, that's just stupid. Radical feminism tends to think that men and women are the same. John Paul II was a feminist, and we should all be feminists because we believe in the equality of the sexes, not that they are interchangeable, they're complementary. A lot of it was through a study. I know, I'm just clarifying my terms. A lot of it was through the study of theology of the body, but also just through getting to know people. And it was that distinct for me when I had that conversation with the guy who was going to shoot somebody. And I started asking, and I actually was tallying the number of guys who said this and the number of girls who said this, and realizing just how overwhelming it was. And I thought, this can't be purely culturally conditioned. There has to be something more going on. And I've spent a lot of time working with young women and trying to help them process their brokenness, and just seeing, when I work with young women who are young and pregnant, or who are on drugs, or who are handing themselves away to any guy they can find, my first question is always, what is your relationship with your father? And as I realized how important that was, I began to realize that it wasn't just a father thing, it was a relationship with all men kind of a thing. Really it was gradual, and it was something that I definitely resisted. But at this point, it just strikes me as so obvious, what was I thinking? When I thought that men and women were exactly the same, and I was a 14-year-old girl. Like, some guys are more emotional than some girls. No guy is more emotional than me. Okay? Unless you're probably institutionalized. Okay, I'm a really emotional person. So theology of the body, and then just working with people without the biases of my youth. Other questions? You can ask about the hobo thing too. I know you got questions about that.
Would you have any, you mentioned theology of the body, would you have any particular resources that you've come across in recent years that you would promote for college students?
Yeah, I like Christopher West. He gets a lot of flack. I think his early stuff is better suited to guys, because he tends to be a little bit more crass in his treatment of things. I think his later stuff is probably pretty accessible across the board. I like Janet Smith a lot. She has much more of the facts and statistics and the chemistry behind things. And I have a scientific background, and I'm just a very, very skeptical and very logical person, and so I like to have more than just, the Adam and Eve thing is cool, but I needed more than that. Janet Smith, I think, provides a lot of that.
Say you tell a girl she's beautiful, that she looks good in 5K or something. What about the problem with her thinking you're flirting for?
Excellent question. And it's something where if you decide, I'm going to be intentional about the words that I use with women, you're also going to have to be intentional about saying, I want you to know that I just mean this as a friend, but I think you're beautiful. And that comes out a little bit awkward, but ladies, I think we can accept that if it is tied with the word beautiful, right? If you're I want you to know I just mean this as a friend, but you are so sexy, baby. I'm going to punch you in the face. Be honest about it and be clear with your intentions and establish yourself as the kind of guy who honors women in that way, but who also isn't going to play games. This whole talking business where women are emotionally committed to a relationship that they're not actually committed to, and guys are in this relationship that they're not actually committed to and aren't going to emotionally invest in the same way because that's not how we work. It's just a mess. Right? And girls were reading into every single thing he ever does, and we're I don't know if we're talking, maybe we're talking we text a lot, but he never actually spend time together, right? Be done with that. Go on dates, right? You take a girl on a date, and then at the end of the night, if you don't think it's going to work out, you say, thanks very much, I'll see you at church. And that's door closed. Ladies, you're not then going to be do you think he wants to see me again? No. Because you didn't say he wants to see you again, right? act like adults instead of this prolonged adolescence that our culture has thrust. I think 50 years ago, like you could tell a woman that she was lovely, and it wouldn't be construed as anything, because if you were interested in her, you would ask her out, or you would like go see her father, or like offer a cow for the bride price. So it's going to be a cultural shift, guys. But if you establish yourself in that and are very clear about your intentions and your relationships, the girls you know are going to get it.
I had the exact same question.
Exact same question. I never mentioned that one. You guys always ask it though. So I probably should have worded it somehow. Do you want to ask about like chivalry? Like what if girls don't let you be man? Or like what about the girls who don't deserve any better? I get that question a lot. They're like, oh, well, but I mean, there are some girls, like, they just don't even deserve it. See, the thing is that every girl deserves better, just some of us know it. Right? So if you're picturing in your mind right now, gentlemen or ladies, if you're picturing in your mind someone who, like, it really wouldn't be that bad. Like, let's say we just make it at a party. It's, like, not that big of a deal because I'm using her, she's using me, like, it's just mutual, like, it's all fine. Consider if a girl you know who's good, a good girl got drunk at a party and pulled you into a room, starts taking off her clothes, you stop her, right? Because you know she deserves better, right? See, I'm telling you, they all deserve better, whether they know it or not. And there are definitely girls who are the aggressors, guys. But ladies, let's imagine that you get a little bit tipsy and maybe you weren't like totally in control of yourself and you like pull some guy into a corner and you like are all good and he says, I'm sorry, but you deserve better than this. Everyone in this room just went. And guys, that is a heroic move, right? To stop a girl who was willing to whatever, right? And to say you deserve better than this, I'm going to call your friends and have them take you home. Like, I mean, that's the kind of thing they write in hagiographies. You know, like St. Thomas Aquinas chased the prostitute out of his room with a burning torch, like, and St. Matthew of Manhattan asked a girl's friends to take her home, you know, like. Any questions? Yeah.
So what about the girl who didn't want to be treated with respect? Or like if a guy trying to show her.
Oh, so when guys are like trying to open doors and whole things and stuff. I was that girl because I grew up like if a guy tries to open a door for you because he thinks you're weak, which is like stupid. Who can't open a door? Like why would that even be? But I figured it out the summer. I spent with a bunch of boys from Augusta, Georgia, and they kept carrying things for me. It really bugged me. So I'm climbing off the bus one day, and my buddy had 2 guitars, a backpack, and a birthday cake. And so I like grabbed one of his guitars and just walked off the bus. And John looks at me and he says, "Did Philip make you carry his guitar?" This is a horrifying thing. And I was like, "Oh no, his hands were full." And he said, "Okay, well I'll take it." And I was like, "That's all right, I got it." And he said, "No, really, I'll take it." And I said, "No, really, I got it." And he paused and he looked up at me and he said, "May I please carry that for you?" And I was like, "Oh." And because I had thought that it really was an issue of men exerting physical dominance over women by serving us. See, there are just a lot of things that sometimes you believe because you've been told to and not because they're rational at all. Guys, obviously, like, don't rip things out of a girl's hands in order to serve her. Offer, and if she refuses you, say, "Okay, sorry," and then offer again the next day. And then offer again the day after that. And she may think that you're a terrible human being and that you're a total jerk and never wants to meet you again. That's okay. Right? Because you're being crucified for her. And there are other women who are going to see it. And they're going to start to believe that they deserve that. And they're going to start expecting that guys treat them better than they've been treating them. So there are a lot of us ladies, we don't think we deserve any better than we get. And so we're willing to settle for a lot less than what we were paid for. But I think there are guys in this room who are willing to be that crucified man for you. You gotta let them. Yeah. You know, and it's tough because there are some women who act like they think they're the most beautiful and incredible things that ever happen, and it's because they hate themselves. Right? I mean, like, a woman who is secure in her beauty does not feel the need to rub everybody else's face in it. And if she is acting in that way, it's because she's desperate to convince everyone around her that she's beautiful. And if you can disinterestedly say to her, hey, you know, you are beautiful in red. I hope you're having a great day. And then like turn and walk away before she starts screaming at you. Like, that's it. All I want to do is tell you a nice thing. She's going to hear that a lot more strongly than she hears the guys who are like hanging around telling her nice things. I was at McDonald's a couple of weeks ago because I'm a hobo, so sometimes I just have to sit and write blog posts at McDonald's. You can stalk me all over the internet, by the way. I blog at www.piercedhands.com. Pierced hands, like Jesus' pierced hands. I have to enunciate because sometimes people are like, pierced hands? This is not pierced I was sitting at McDonald's and I'm writing a blog post and this guy walked up to me and he was like, hey, did you go to Madison? And I looked up and I was like, no, I just have that kind of a face. Because I always, like, people think they know me and they don't. And they, like, really are insistent on it. Sometimes it's awkward. So I was like, no, I just have that kind of a face. And I looked back down and he goes, oh, well, that's a beautiful face. And then he just turned and walked away. Like, he wasn't even hitting on me. He just, like, wanted to tell me that I was beautiful. And that was the end of it. And I was like, I just kind of sat there. I think they were beautiful. It was very exciting. Yeah, so a lot of the times the people who seem like they need it the least are the ones who need it the most. And what's heroic is for you to risk their disdain. Yeah, I know you don't do that, I know. But, I mean, it's a big school. It's not like you have to hunt those girls down and be like, hey! But like your family members or like girls that people you're friends with are dating, like, yeah, I know, it's a crucifixion.
If you could just kind of reflect on like the basis, I guess, of that hate that you're talking about, like from the conversations you've had, like I don't necessarily understand.
Why women hate themselves?
I mean, is it strictly an appearance type thing?
No, it's everything. It's everything. For me, I'm too much. Most women, you're either too little or too much, right? Not enough or too much. I'm too much. I'm too loud. I'm too attention-seeking. I'm too needy. I'm too large. My voice is too. Everything about me is too much. And so when I say something that, if I try and make a joke and people don't laugh, I have this cringe of, oh dear God, I'm not funny, and everybody thinks that I'm just trying to get their attention and they all hate me right now. And this is after 15 years of having the Lord himself wildly love me. It's better. It's a lot better than it used to be, and I am much less like this and more like this. But it's not, even women, you know, and Dove did a study. They say 4% of women believe that they're beautiful. 4% of women believe that they're beautiful. And those 4% probably think they're stupid, or they're boring, or they're awkward, or they're in the way, or they're unnecessary. It's, right, ladies? I mean, it's everything. I talked to a little girl one time, she was crying, she was 8 years old, and I said, what is wrong? She said, I'm skinny and I have big eyes. And I was like, that's what makes a supermodel. Like, but at 8 years old, she believed that she was worthless and no one was going to love her because her eyes were too big and she was too skinny. It manifests itself very visibly in our appearance, but it goes much deeper. Starting by telling us we're beautiful helps, because really that's the desire of every woman's heart, is to know that she is beautiful. But that it's an all-encompassing thing, right, ladies? But that word beautiful, that means more than pretty. That means more than hot. That means that there's something also about your soul that the person who is looking at you is perceiving through your body. I think that's why the word beautiful or the word lovely, I think that's why those are such powerful words, is there is so much more than the body. they speak to the beauty of the soul as well. Really, nobody wants to ask like where I shower, or like why I haven't just run out of gas and died on the side of the road, or he's just gonna ask where do you shower? Yes.
Yeah, where do you shower?
Just like when it rains real hard, I just like get out and like.
So.
No, I always stay at people's houses. Sometimes with relatives, strangers, sometimes with friends. I don't ever just like knock at someone's house and say, "Hi, I'm Meg, I live here now." People think they're like, "So you just like go into somebody's house and move in?" No. But I shower at the houses where I live with the random people, many of whom I have some connection to.
How do you find connections to the non-connected?
People will often email me through my blog and ask me if I'll come in and speak, and they'll say, and we'll put you up at this house with this person. I figure if like the parish recommends you, or if you work for the church, or I've been reading her blog on chastity for 6 months, and she invited me to come stay at her house, and I was like, well, if she's a serial killer and her cover is just that deep, I don't want to live in this world anymore. Yeah, so I always have like at least enough of an idea that they're reasonable people that I can satisfy my mother. Yeah.
Is there any like women resulting from that, like self-hatred?
Yes. Father, are we gonna have time to split them, guys and girls?
I think we can still do that. I know there were. Was that a question? I didn't hear the question.
She was
was there a
asking
question that you wanted to?
how women themselves can combat the self-hatred. Now, guys, if you want, you can just sit here, Father, unless you have something specific planned for the guys.
No,
Guys, if you want, you can sit here and I'll pretend you're not here and I'll talk to these women. But it also might be like really intense and awkward for you. A lot about feelings. So I don't know if you would take a little.
Yeah. Actually, I think we will break. I know there were a couple.
Yeah, before all the boys leave.
Okay, so you have like
Or whatever.
So can girls go ahead and ask guys, or?
Excellent question. Morally, yes.
The question was, can girls
Can girls ask guys every day? Morally, I would say yes. Prudentially, absolutely not. Because here's the thing, ladies. You need to know that you are worth fighting for. And he needs to know that he was good enough to fight for you. Right? And in the relationship, I mean, let's be honest, ladies, we kind of run a lot of the relationship. We do, like, some manipulating, maybe sometimes a little bit. We run a lot. We run a lot of the relationship. We need to give men ownership over that, but I think there's also the fact that guys, a lot of times, that's kind of a turnoff for a lot of guys because you feel like your place is being usurped, right? That you want to be the one who's going out there, who's taking the initiative, who's fighting. And I think when we start our relationships at that level, it's a dangerous thing. I think also we do all of that like ridiculous analyzing, reading into things. And ladies, if we decide we're going to let men be the agents, we're going to let them fight for us and come to us, then you can just be like, I don't need to analyze and process and figure out. Because guys, like literally everything you say, if a girl is interested in you, she takes it home to her friends and they make a flow chart of like all the possible different. I mean, like you think I'm kidding, but I mean, ladies, you could easily spend an hour analyzing your text messages, right? Yeah, I mean, it's just not. We didn't even have text messaging when I was your age. I guess when I was your age, but like when I was 14, 15. But if you decide like I'm not ever going to be the one who goes out there and makes the effort, then you don't have to do all of that because it doesn't matter what he feels or what he's thinking. Because if he's not going to man up and ask you out, then it's just not an issue. Yeah. Yeah.
I have experience with a guy who asked on a date and will go, what do you want to do?
Oh, lame. Lame. Guys, oh my gosh.
This is you.
Yeah.
But how do you convey them that what they want to do is what excuses you on that day?
Yeah. So I went to visit this high school in Beloit where they have a quarter-long theology class called Dating, Marriage, and Family Life, and they actually, is that where you went? some guys have to, like, for class, take girls on a date, like, during school, and, like, plan it out, and bring a meal, and, like, have a good conversation, and when they grade each other, I don't know about that, but, guys, if you're really concerned to, like, do what she wants to do, say, you know, I was thinking we could either go see one of these movies, or we could go to the, like, book festival downtown. You can present options, that's great. But when you're just like, so what do you want to do? A girl's like, this is a lot of pressure. And she hasn't been thinking that she has to think of it. And, you know, it's just like tension, all right? So, like, being a man doesn't mean that you are making all the choices, but that you've got the courage to say, here are some suggestions. You know, and ladies, if the guy's like, well, do you want to go watch a bullfight or climb a mountain? And you're like, looking all good, you don't want to get bloody, you don't want to, like, kick off your spike heels and climb a mountain, you can say, maybe we could stay in, or, you know, like, it's okay to suggest another thing, right? That's okay. But yeah.